Hello, everyone, and welcome to MoteCon 2023, the pre-conference sessions. I'm your host, Alex Isaacs, EdTech Specialist in Long Branch Public Schools District and proud Mote Ambassador leader. We have a couple of sessions planned to build excitement for MoteCon 2023, taking place on August 18th and 19th. And be sure to check out mote.com/MoteCon to register for this free, fun, and fantastic event. To get things started, I want to introduce the co-founder and CEO of Mote, Will Jackson. Will, welcome. Good afternoon, I believe, across the pond. How are you today?
Alex, I'm great. I'm thrilled to be part of this kickoff session. I'm thrilled that you're hosting this. You've been an amazing member of the Mote community. And I'm really excited about our amazing guest for this first session. She's awesome. We had the privilege of meeting up at ISTE. And I can't wait. I want to get on with the session and use this as a great way to kick off MoteCon 2023.
Well, I can't tell you enough how thrilled I am at this opportunity to be a part of this and to host for the first time in my life. So I only hope I can do a good enough job to get people engaged and passionate about Mote as I am. So I'm very excited as well for this first presenter, one of the leaders in the ed tech world. We have Miss Kristina Holzweiss. Welcome, Kristina. How are you today?
Great. Thank you so much. And hi, Will. So good to see
Hey,
you.
Kristina.
So we're very excited to have you today to share. You could go so many different avenues with your skills, your ed tech prowess. So I'm just excited to get to know a little bit more about you and how you're using Mote for so many different ways. So at this point, I'm going to project your screen. And Will, we really appreciate you joining us for the beginning. We'll see you soon, okay?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, great to see you, Kristina. Thanks again, Alex. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much, Will. Have a great day.
Bye, Will.
All right, so Kristina, take it away.
I've been teaching for 28 years as a seventh grade English teacher for 9 years, a librarian, and now an ed tech special librarian. It's kind of a hybrid. So I've been so excited. I've seen such changes going on in education. Some things are not as good as they were when I started, but in the ed tech world, they are amazing. And I'm more excited about teaching now than ever with all the ed tech tools, especially Mote.
So I know you have great experience with so many different ed tech tools. Looking back at the beginning of your illustrious career, what were some of the tools that you were using very early on that come to mind?
Very early on? Okay, so I was using the transparencies and an overhead projector. That's what I was using. And I would print out pictures from the internet and I would set up scenes for my kids to act in front of that projector. I went back to school in 2000 for my ed tech certification, and I discovered PowerPoint. So excited. And I was the first teacher in our school to use the PowerPoint. And we literally had the floppy disk, not the floppy floppies, but the smaller ones. And I would load them up every day for the kids. I had 5 classes at that point, and I would load them up. I would remind them every 10 minutes, save your work, save your work. And then we would take them out, and then the next group of kids would come in the next period and save your work every 10 minutes. No cloud, no internet, nothing like that. And I was also teaching HTML to kids. They were actually typing it off a piece of paper and looking at on a screen on a TV monitor. No big screens, no smart boards. I remember when smart boards first came out. I was at a conference and I saw them in a little bitty little booth, smart boards. I was so excited. I knew I couldn't afford them. So I went to the next booth and I bought a whole bunch of dry erase boards for the kids. So I love low tech to high tech, anything that works for our kids.
That's awesome. And while I might not, I did use an overhead projector while student teaching, so I can appreciate that. I look back at my early career as a math teacher. It was Flipgrid named at the time. Yeah. That was one that I really started off with, and at the time also GoFormative. So I go back long enough to have 2 platforms change their name. So yes. That's my level of experience. But I feel like with Mote, I feel like this is a tool that had I had that earlier on in my career, boy, could I have made my resources so much more accessible, so much more engaging. And, I love what you share about Microsoft PowerPoint. That was one of my first things as well. So I can fully appreciate that. And now you've managed to stay up with the times completely. I'm looking at a gorgeous Canva presentation, I believe. And I'm just so excited to get into what you have to share today.
Great. So I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can level up your school library with Mote. But these are ideas that you can use anywhere. Being a school librarian, a tech librarian, we teach all of the students in our schools. So we teach kids from in different grade levels, different academic abilities, kids who speak different languages. So the school librarians, we enrich the lives of everyone. So I feel like anything that you learn today during my session, you can apply to English, like I taught. You could apply to math, science, social studies, art, world languages, anything. Because what's good for certain kids, for kids who are diverse learners, is good for all kids. And Mote is I think it's a level playing field, and it helps empower everyone to speak their voice.
Sure, that equity that we have that we're trying to achieve for every student, this is one of those tools that allows for that. I also have experience with multilingual learners. So, you're in good company, and you have great ideas for how to share that to really boost their ability to be able to follow instructions or get feedback. So really great uses, really looking forward to this.
Great. So here are the 5 ways I'm going to talk about today. Forms, slides, feedback, support, and QR codes. Now, there are many, many, many more aspects of Mote that you can use. It's such a simple tool. That's what I love about it. But so many ways that educators and students have found to use it. That's what I think is the power of Mote. Simple yet dynamic and powerful. And you're going to learn a lot more during MoteCon. So here's just a taste of what you can do in your school library. So the first one is forms. So I'm thinking book requests, exit tickets, and surveys. So for our kids who are little learners who might not be able to spell or write, or kids who may not have dexterity, or kids who can't type as well, or maybe even kids who speak other languages, they can actually request books through a Google form and use Mote. You can also use it for exit tickets at the end of a lesson to learn about what your students have learned and their reflection of the lesson, and also surveys. So if you want to ask kids other questions besides book requests, if you want to get into social emotional learning, empowering their voices, the surveys is a really great idea. So I'm going to show you this one right here. It is a Google form, and it's a book recommendation form. And right here, you can see the little Mote. So if I click the Mote right here, I can actually record my voice. So instead of saying my name, I can record my name. I could put in the grade right here. Oh, let me turn that off. I could put the title of the book. I could either type it, or I can use Mote to do that. And I could also put in the author of the book. As you can see, I have them right here that they are required. So I'm going to say the title of the book, The Giver, which is my favorite book of all time, and Lois Lowry, who is the author of the book. And as you can see, I can, as the librarian or as the teacher, I can ask my questions in text and with audio. And I can also, as a student, I can type the text or I can record my voice. So I really think it makes it really easy for all kids. So now it is submitted. So now I'm going to go here. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to show you the responses. I'm going to show you in Sheets what it looks like. So here we have the timestamp. We have your name, right? It's a Mote recording. We have the grade, the title of the book, and the author of the book. So you can now collect data through audio. You can require that the kids have their email. If they're older, you can collect the email addresses to identify students, or you could even have them type their name and maybe the period or the class, the teacher's name, have a drop-down menu for kids, for the littles, to make it much easier. But now you have these wonderful audio recordings, and you could also download them. Right here, you could download them. So that's what I love about the book recommendation form. Again, you can use this idea with exit tickets and surveys using the same format.
And Christina, the thing that I think of is, this book recommendation form, there could also be a space for a student giving their rationale as to why they're recommending that book too, to even elevate it to a further degree, getting them to kind of promote the book that they read that they want others to read. So I love this idea. And I think that we're kind of doing a system in Long Branch this year where it's going to be a climate change library available. And I really like this idea where maybe some students could start developing some book recommendation ideas. I love it.
A part of developing a library collection for school librarians is we want to offer kids books that they can see themselves in and that they could view other cultures in. So we want to empower kids to recommend books. And we want kids to see themselves in those books. And we don't know unless we ask. So having a book recommendation form in different formats, again, texting, typing in the text or audio, I think is a wonderful idea. And I love the idea of putting in your rationale. You could add how many, when did you read the book? How many stars would you give the book? And then I, as the librarian, I can use this form and I could add my own columns. So I can say, how much the book costs, where it's located, if I bought the book, when I bought the book. I can put that in the spreadsheet on my own and not have it in the survey. So this is really great for collection development.
Absolutely. And when you said audio data, I like the sound of that. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. We're talking about going to digital portfolios maybe in the future. A lot of kids are not good test takers. They can't sit there and put in the little bubbles or, manually, or just that's not the way they think. But when they speak, the answers are so much clearer and the vocabulary is so much richer, and then you understand them that much better.
Absolutely.
So another idea would be, I'm going to go to the second slide here. Another idea are slides. So for slides, you could have interactive maps, daily agendas, and substitute notes. So what I love about being a tech librarian is I not only use the tools myself, but I can share the tools with other teachers and how they can use them in their classroom. So interactive maps can actually be diagrams. So you can actually tell a science teacher, oh, why don't you use Mote to have the kids label the parts of a plant? Or maybe you could even do, the parts of a book, the spine, the copyright page, all those things. Daily agendas. So you can create an agenda and then you could have it with an audio button. So the kids they can repeat the directions themselves. Or maybe if you're absent for the day, you could have the substitute. You can record notes for the substitute, and also in the agenda, record your voice, because when you're absent, the littles sometimes get nervous because they're very comfortable with you. But when they hear your voice, they feel more comfortable and better. So it's for the social emotional learning is much better. So this is a very old map of my prior library that one of my students had created for me. But as you can see, I put little Mote hotspots here where it describes what's going on in the library. So I'll just record one.
Welcome to our library. When you come in, you'll be able to take out books for 2 weeks and then return them or redo them.
So I didn't mean record them. I meant to play them. You can record very easily. All you have to do is record and put these little Mote spots wherever you like. You can even change the color.
Yeah, I like the idea of taking the icon that is automatically brought in and then replacing that either with numbers sometimes to kind of like go along with directions. And Kristina, I actually remember another room that you created, virtual room, that had the icons all over kind of explaining the different parts of the library as well. And I just think back to my childhood where we were watching videos about the Dewey Decimal System, and that was innovative. And I was looking at screensavers off to the left, and that was the amazing thing at my time. What advancements to librarians, digital media specialists, like it must be just so much more going on at this point that kids can be engaged and really just be skipping down to the library each day.
Well, we're making the libraries much more user-friendly. For years, I kept saying to my students during orientation, well, we're not set up like a bookstore. And then one day I thought, well, why aren't we set up like a bookstore? They're so easy to browse and fun to look at all the books front facing. So many libraries now are genrefying, which means that we're placing our fiction books in the different genres as you would find in a bookstore. So you could have your humor section, you could have your historical fiction, maybe you'd have your science fiction. And that's what I did. I did not genrefy the nonfictions. I kept everything in the Dewey numbers, but I created maps. So as you can see here, we have our fiction. This is old, our fiction by last name. And then also here we have our Dewey. I did change this again to reflect what kids are, want to look at now. And actually that makes it much easier for me to say to kids, well, what kind of books do you like? And a student will say science fiction. I say, go to the science fiction section, because now you can find so many more books than you can just by finding that one author. So genrefying is a big difference from when we went to school.
Awesome. Yeah, this looks great. I can imagine that, your newer versions as well, highly accessible, making it foolproof basically for students to kind of get the lay of the land.
Exactly. And we have library orientations at the beginning of the year. And sometimes we have kids who are, on vacation, or they move into the district and then, oops, they missed your library orientation. You can just take this link and you could put it on a website. You could embed this and the students can look at it on their own. You could email it to the teachers and they could share it with their students. And you could share through Remind, Google Classroom, anywhere you want. And you don't have to keep repeating yourself. You're basically cloning yourself with Mote.
Absolutely. I had it where, my kids would have the Google Slides presentations as a resource, and then they had additional explanations for me with that lovely purple sound icon that Mote just inserts magically. So this is another great tip. Anybody who uses Google Slides, you owe it to yourself to give this platform a try between its simplicity and its ability to make your materials far more accessible. So definitely it's almost an extension within the extension when you're recording on Google Slides. So really great stuff as far as being able to boost that accessibility and make it where, regardless of you're in person or not, you can get that idea of the information that's trying to be disseminated.
And when people try new tools out, they get very overwhelmed. I think Mote is an easy in. It's very user friendly. It's not overwhelming. And if you do feel like you don't know how to use it with your students yet, because very simply, your students can do this, but teachers on their own can create presentations and documents and things with Mote, get their feet wet, and then invite their students in.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think that, something that was an easy entry level for my kids was just having them do like a silly recording to start. And that kind of got them into the mood of doing it, and having me share Mote messages with them, especially via Google Slides, where I was giving them feedback and giving them, meaningful feedback, more meaningful feedback. That was something that was an entry level activity where I just said, okay, be silly, record something that would make one of your friends laugh. And that kind of got them interested in the platform as well.
That might be a good idea. Tell a Mote joke,
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Very, very much. I like that a lot.
Okay, so now our next one is feedback. And you were talking about feedback. Perfect. It's available in Google Classroom, but I also teach college classes, and it's available in Canvas. Not Canva, Canvas. Although you can take a link and put it in Canva, so you can app smash, but it is already in Canvas. So I was teaching my class one day, and all of a sudden I saw it was in Canvas. I could give feedback to these students who are adults in my class with my voice in Canvas. That blew my mind. I could also use it in Google Docs. So if the kids are working on a research paper, I can put in a little Mote comment there. And I could also use it in emails. So I've done that before. Sometimes I just don't feel like typing, and I want, you feel like all these words. I want to hear people's voices. I will actually record my voice and put it in an email. So here is an example of a Google Classroom that I just put together real quick. So again, you can put your little responses right in here. You can put in the text as well. Here, the students can upload their assignment, and then when they put their assignment in, you can not only grade it, but you can respond through Mote. So I did that also for after school professional development. I had some teachers in my class in a Google Classroom, and I was responding through Mote because I wanted them to learn firsthand what Mote was like as students, which is actually a really good idea. When you're teaching teachers about Mote, have them pretend they're students and they'll see the power of Mote. So Google Classroom, I mean, when I first discovered Mote, I was blown away. I'm like, this is so easy. And it's the only way I can get audio in there, because otherwise you have to like upload a file and make sure it's in your Google Drive and make it public or YouTube. It's so clunky the way Google is with audio. But with Mote, it's easy. It's right here. All I have to do is press the button. I love it.
Yeah, I got brought back to some of the memories of having to upload MP3 files into Drive and then import them with that very sad gray icon that would come in. So Google Classroom, you're giving really great tangible use cases that are low entry points, and there's really a minimal learning curve with this platform, as you shared so gracefully. You know, it's really straightforward, and there's no real confusion as far as what you need to do. You click on that purple icon, you hit the record button, and then as soon as you hit check, that link is copied to the clipboard where you get to post that wherever you like. But the great thing about Mote that I've shared many times, as you just did, is the integration within the Google apps. It's right there. Kids, regardless of whether they have the app installed, they're able to play your Mote messages. So using it in Google Classroom as a welcome message or to give feedback on an assignment, I love that idea as well. And I think that this could be a great starting point for a teacher as well.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, when we were teaching, you know, virtually during, you know, COVID, there were some things that, you know, we couldn't do. There were some things, you know, there's a certain vibe when you're in the classroom that's different when you're virtual. But there are things that we learned. There were lessons learned through COVID, and we can connect and we can speak to one another, and we can do even more things virtually than we ever thought we could before. And I think Mote does that because it elevates that text to voice. And that's why what you and I are exchanging right now, it's voice. It would be a very different conversation if we were texting back and forth.
Definitely. And I still have memories of getting email responses back from some of my students saying how appreciative they were of either an audio walkthrough or an audio Mote message complimenting them or congratulating them. I look forward to seeing you get to QR modes at the end, because to me, that's some of the most versatile use of it. But again, all of these for teachers, for educators, administrators watching, you know, how can you integrate what Kristina is sharing into your practice? These are great use cases. These are great entry points. Which one will you take away from this session and really try to implement?
Again, I always, you know, if you could take one thing away, I mean, you've got 5 things today, but if you take one thing away, and I bet you it would not take more than 5 minutes to do any of these things.
And the Mote Learning Zone has great tutorials as well.
And what I love is when I'm teaching it to teachers, they're not learning something new. Number one, that they're not going to use ever. And number 2, that they have to throw away what they already learned. All we're doing is taking a tool and layering it onto knowledge that they already have. They already know their Google. They know their Google Classroom, their Google Slides, their Google Docs. They already know those things. And all we're doing is layering on top. So it's not you're relearning, you're enriching.
Definitely. And I think to Fonz Mendoza, who says, I'm just adding some seasoning onto what you're already doing so great. So I think about that as well.
Exactly. So let's go to number 4. Oh my gosh, support. So, I mean, I'm blown away by this. You can have website directions, which I'm going to show example, a help desk, and transcripts and translations. So if you're using Mote just for audio, great. We could also have transcripts, and you can have it translated. And I love a help desk. So you can use a Google form and create a help desk. So if kids need help with something, or even teachers, I think it would be really great for like school counselors if they had like an inventory form where kids can decide whether they want to type or they want to speak. And if they needed help, they could make an appointment. So like a help desk. But I'm going to show you website directions, which I am blown away about. So let me click this one. And so here is my public library. So I can layer Mote on top of a website and then give that link to kids. I'm not changing the original website. I'm just layering.
Yeah, these are sticky notes. Awesome usage right here.
Hi, everyone. This is the South Huntington Public Library website. Here you can listen to audiobooks. You can search the card catalog for books that you want to borrow. You can sign up for online learning, museum passes, and even for classes. Have fun at the South Huntington Public Library.
Yeah, you say they're sticky notes. I mean, they're so easy to make, and like, it's not a video, but sometimes you don't need a video. Just sometimes you just need, here's the link, kids, and here's a little background.
I think that this is another great use that you've come up with. I did this actually in our school newsletter. I did it for my math class, our math team, where we actually inserted instructions on how to translate text on Wakelet. So, another great use where you can app smash. We had it linked to the newsletter, and then it described that process for parents and guardians on how to make that change so that multilingual families were able to keep up to date.
I love that idea. I mean, especially I'm thinking back to school when the teachers send the back to school letters, they can have their actual voice speaking to the kids with the QR code, which I'm going to get to next. I love that idea with the newsletters.
Yeah, you're thinking a lot. We're very simpatico here, Kristina. A lot of ideas that are just kind of happening naturally that we both agree on.
Well, again, it's really simple to use Mote in so many different classes, subject areas and grade levels, because we always think of, I'll give a PD, and I've taught English, I'm a librarian, but then I have the science teachers who say, okay, what do you have for me? Or the phys ed teachers, what do you have for me? And that's not my forte. But when I show the power of ed tech tool like Mote and what you can do with it, they're like, oh, I can really adapt that to what I'm doing very easily.
Definitely. I think it's about as low entry point as it gets as far as ed tech tools, and the versatility of how much you can do with that simple link or QR code in this case that is produced, embed links, just really a lot of options that are going to help you improve your practice, your instruction, and make things more engaging for your students. I fully agree.
So I'm thinking QR codes for makerspace and stations in libraries. You can have directions right on the makerspace items, like you have a robot, or you have a box of Legos or something. You could put those little Mote notes and get a QR code and put it right on there, and the kids can listen to it and learn about like what's in that makerspace kit or how to use the Legos. Book talks. You can talk about your favorite book and then take the Mote Note QR code and put it right on the book and put them in the display. So as kids are looking at the books, they're like, I wonder what that's about. Who recommends this? And they can scan the QR code and listen to it. And then interactive displays. So kids can write their own essays. They can draw their own pictures. It could be artwork. And then you can create a beautiful bulletin board for back to school and put all those QR codes up. And then you have that interactive display. So I'm going to show you a bookmark. So this bookmark was made in Canva, and all I did was record, again, my favorite book, The Giver, and I created a Mote note, and I just recorded it, and I put the QR code right on my bookmark. So you can make back to school bookmarks. You can have the kids make gifts, for their parents, for like, Parents' Day or back to school. They can make little notes for their parents. I know I love back to school with my youngest, because when you go back to school, the kids write a little letter to you, and then you write a letter back. But how cool would it be to scan the QR code and hear your kid's voice on back to school night? So this is my idea for the QR codes on the bookmarks.
So what is this? I'm going to for sure scan this a little bit later, but what is this QR Mote sharing with a student for this bookmark?
And in this one, I just say, I love the book, The Giver, because every time I read the book, I find something new about myself and about the book.
Awesome. So kind of giving your feeling about the book, why you like it so much, using a QR code for that. I never thought of this idea. This is a great one where you could print these out, laminate them, make them really fancy, having your students design them as well. I think that's awesome with their favorite books. And when you mentioned that back to school night, again, it's very funny. We're on the same wavelength here. my partner Lois and I, another great Mote ambassador, we actually created a back to school night template where, kids were recording messages to their families about what they were excited for the school year. And maybe we kind of revamp that a little bit and re-release it for back to school this year, because that's something that, if I were a parent going to school and listening to my child speak to me about what their goals were for the school year on my phone, I think that would just be so much more interactive and engaging than the normal, well, what is your, quiz on your child? What is their favorite food? What do they enjoy doing in their spare time? So I love this idea of creating bookmarks that can then be carried. I also like the idea of almost like using a QR code as a positive affirmation on a bookmark, that if you ever need that quick pick me up, you could scan that and you're ready to go while you're reading your favorite piece of literature.
Oh, I love that idea, because I'm thinking about the school counselors with the with like an inventory, but having a positive affirmation. I love that idea. Maybe having kids find books. Oh, I like this. Finding books about people in history who overcame challenges, and then speak as if they were those people and make a nice display of those.
Sure. I think it's great. And I like the way that the QR codes look just straight from Mote. I think that they have a nice aesthetic to them. I actually had one outside my classroom the last couple of years at Red Bank, where it was just welcoming students and parents, guardians to my class.
Oh, I love that idea. So those are my 5 ideas for using Mote in your library. I want to thank you so much for the conversation. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, that's my website. I'm on Twitter. And I really enjoyed just talking about Mote.
Well, Kristina, I think I could speak for everybody by saying that I'm inspired to now use Mote in different ways. I'm still actually finalizing some of the plans that I have for MoteCon coming up this week. And this has kind of given me a little bit to think about. So I really do appreciate that. And I really can't thank you enough for joining us today for the first pre-conference session. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the many fans out there of yours before we go?
Just try Mote. Get a free trial. Dip in your feet into the water. Try it out. And if you don't use it today, I know in the future you're going to find a reason to use it, because inevitably when we share ed tech tools, some people aren't ready yet. And then they're like, you know what? There was something I could put audio into my Google. What was that? Oh, it was called Mote.
Yeah, I can attest to that as well. I can't thank you enough for being here. It was great connecting with you kind of for the first time. And again, leaving inspired with some new ideas to take back as an ed tech specialist. So thank you so much. We appreciate all of you tuning in today. So just really be on the lookout for MoteCon 2023 coming on August 18th and 19th. We're very excited to present to you some even more amazing presenters as well. And we just look forward to sharing the conversation on how this platform can enhance accessibility, feedback, and so much more at MoteCon 2023. Have a great day, everybody.